panel. How's Toronto doing this afternoon? Good? So, no introduction is needed, but please give a rousing applause for Cameron Monaghan!
What's up, Toronto? So far, so good.
Was this day 1, 2, 3 for you?
This is day 1 for me.
Oh, welcome. Have you been to the Toronto area before?
I haven't been here since I was 8 years old.
Okay, so it's exactly the same then?
I remember it so well.
So when you got the bug at 8 years old, or even sooner than that, to start being like, I'd like to be a performer, was it always something, or did someone suggest it to you, or was it something that you were like, oh, I want to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't making a ton of decisions for myself.
That's what I'm wondering.
But I got involved with like local community theater, and then auditioning for like commercials and that kind of stuff when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I just took to it really well. I was kind of like a very hyperactive kid, and my mom was looking for a place to focus my energy, and it was a really good outlet. And I just kind of lucked out in the sense that I still love it and gratified by it to this day. So
yeah, absolutely. So these community theater things, did you have a favorite role that you got to play as a kid? Because community theater, if folks don't know, is amazing. Like, they just have amazing programs to be able to fill kids. Like you said, like, I work for a theater that does like a summer camp and stuff like that, and it's just, I think it's so important to be able to have, like you're saying, something like that for myself as a kid. Somewhere to bring your kid that's creative, but you don't know what to do with them. Theater is the place to send them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I was involved in this theater in South Florida. I lived in South Florida a little bit when I was a kid, in Boca Raton, and there was this small community theater called Little Palm Family Theater. And we did a production of The Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm not sure if it was legal. But, you know, it was kind of like one of those funny things where, so I played Barrel and as of like Lock, Stock, and Barrel, so like the great little ones I kidnapped Santa Claus. And the girl who played Stock ended up becoming like a Broadway performer. I did not become a Broadway performer, and then the girl who played Locke was Ariana Grande. So it was sort of like, it was like a weird little thing there, so that was kind of fun. Yeah.
That's amazing. So do you think that's ever something that like you get to do a lot of stuff for screen and now games? Is stage still something that you would ever kind of want to go back to?
Yeah, I've continued to do stage, especially a lot recently over the last couple of years. So I've done a couple small performances in Los Angeles. I went and studied Shakespeare in London for 6 or 7 months and performed a play out there. And I'm going to be performing a play in New York in a few weeks as well. So.
You want to say what it is?
No, I don't think I can.
Listen, I figured I'd shoot my shot, you know?
Yeah. It's a play that it's by quite a famous playwright. However, it's never been performed before.
Oh, that's exciting. So world premiere.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you very much.
For a role, if it's for stage versus like screen?
I don't know if I prepare differently so much as the nature of it is slightly different in the sense there's so much more rehearsal involved in theater. And I love rehearsal in general. I think rehearsal is great, and when you can get it for film or television, that's wonderful. You're just not often given the luxury of time for things that are on camera. I wish it was something that was done more, and it's something that I try to push forward when I'm working on those projects. But you know, there's also something incredible about the kind of the accidents and the moments that happen with when you're on screen. Really, all that matters is that it happens once, as opposed to the consistency of performing it on stage.
Yeah,
so, I think that that's amazing sometimes when there is no rehearsal, or maybe not even necessarily a game plan, and you have two actors who just do something unpredictable with each other and are reactive, and sometimes magic happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes not.
So you've been in 4 of my favorite TV shows. I will name them. Thank you. You're on Fringe, Criminal Minds, NCIS, and Law and Order SVU. Can you please just unpack the experience of walking on to like an established sort of like procedural show like that, and then getting to essentially guest star for like an episode, and then you're done, but you know that they'll just keep getting to be those characters.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Shows like that, every set is slightly different. It's its own little, like, they're like a high school or something, where they've all kind of got like their like cliques and kind of feel and focuses, and that's usually being set by whoever are the lead performers on set, as well as who's the producers or the writers' room, and kind of the tone generally goes from the head down. I was lucky enough with all those shows that they were nice places to be in. They treated the guest performers really well. But, when I was younger, that was kind of like a thing that I did a lot, where I would just be kind of going from show to show to show to show, guest starring, trying to kind of get a little bit of credits or heat behind me. And those situations are always very intimidating for young performers to walk in, and I will always remember the actors who treated me with kind of like a respect. Like when I was on Criminal Minds, I was a kid. I think I was only like 13 years old, 12, 13 years old. I had this episode with Elle Fanning, and there was this one last little interrogation moment where I was sitting in the back of a squad car with Mandy Patinkin. And Mandy treated me with respect as a performer, even though I was young, and then asked me questions about how we should approach the scene, and asked me just about who I was as an actor. And I'll never forget that. And so that's like a lesson that I've learned over time, is to treat those performers with not only with respect, but to pay attention, because sometimes those people will become truly phenomenal actors later. And so that's just something for any actors out there. It's just remember that you're not always going to be the leader.
Exactly, and that's something nice to. I'm sure someone did that for him, and then so he wanted to continue that sort of tradition of like, well, yeah, if you're on set, you mean something, you're important. So it's nice that you're going to carry that.
Absolutely. That goes beyond even the cast. That goes to crew and everybody as well. And you're all kind of one unit working together. And beyond the fact that it's just sort of the right thing to do, it also makes the work better when you're all working efficiently as a unit and all regard each other in that way. Bill Macy from Shameless is a actor who I've always appreciated that, because he started quite a while ago, and he didn't have like an immediate success. He kind of came from the theater scene, the Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago, and then kind of worked as a jobbing actor for a while as well before Fargo. And he is a performer who always, like, it doesn't matter if an actor is coming on for one word. He always learns their name, treats them with respect, and I just think that that's really important, and it's important for the tone of the set.
Yeah, and the theater that I worked for in Philly, we all come the first day of rehearsal, make a huge circle, and that's like people from the development team, the marketing team, the people that are going to do hair and makeup, like every single person stands on stage, we all introduce ourselves, And it's like, this production can't work without all of these people. It's not just about who's on stage once it gets going. And it is, it feels like a community then.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, speaking of Shameless, was that... When you auditioned for that, was there kind of a rigorous process? Was it like a, because I know sometimes y'all have to audition and then wait like months to hear back. And I lose my mind if I have to wait a week to hear back about something. So like, what was the process like getting booked on a show like that?
Yeah, I had a kind of strange, circuitous route to get hired. So I auditioned quite early on when the show first started casting, when they didn't have anybody except for Bill cast at that point. And so they were looking for all the characters. And I had initially wanted to audition for Lip. And strangely, Jeremy had wanted to audition for Ian, which is kind of funny. It's one of those things. I mean, he was perfect for the role, and I'm so thankful for being able to perform Ian. But it's kind of funny, like, so neither of us instinctually had gone to those roles, and I did audition for Ian, but I was only like 16, 15 years old at the time. It was a pretty intense role. The audition scenes were quite intense when it came to like language and content. And I wasn't sure if that was like a character that I wanted to play for the rest of, be it, known for this character for the rest of my life. And I think even back then I kind of understood the gravity and the weight of that situation. And so I decided I didn't want to do it. And I turned it down. And so a couple of months passed by, and they had asked a few times, and I was like, no, I don't think so, I'm not sure. And then the cast kept filling in, and I saw, Emmy was involved. I saw, I watched some of the original English series, and they sent me the scripts for the first couple episodes, and I read them, and they were phenomenal. I was like, all right. So I ended up going back in and testing and going to a network audition. So just 2 more rounds. For the first time that I came back, I had a chemistry read with Jeremy, who was in the room with me, and we had a scene where we got in a fight with each other, and we weren't sure how to do it, so we were sitting in the chairs next to each other, and I just kind of lunged at him and started choking him in the room. And I think they liked the intensity. Yeah. So I don't take this as advice if you're auditioning. Don't strangle your reader. I don't think that's normally.
Yeah. So then, once you got to continue on a show, like, did you build an immediate rapport with everybody? Did it take a few seasons to realize, like, this is what this is? Or did you guys see it already filming that first season, like, this is something special?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was an immediate rapport. So we just went and shot the pilot, and we were in Chicago for a fair portion of it, and it was the middle of winter, it was freezing, and they were all maniacs. They were all like kids who had gotten this like first sort of real crazy opportunity. Emmy had worked, before, and Bill had worked before. But Emmy was quite young, as was the rest of the cast, and we were in Chicago, and it was just like a wild, fun time. And I was young, and it was kind of like it was interesting because Emma and Ethan, who played my 2 younger siblings, were like 9 at the time. So they were kids. But I was old enough that I was allowed to be in the circle with the adults. But it was like the first time that I was like let into that circle of like performers and artists, and got to see the strangeness and the weirdness and the wildness for what that was. And yeah, so it was an amazing thing. I was in awe of all of them and their talent, and still am. But when we had finished for the couple weeks of shooting, it was a good like 9 or 10 months before we found out that we were picked up for the series. And by the end of that time, I think all of us had just accepted that it wasn't going to happen. But thankfully we got the call, we went and shot the rest of the first season, and we were all very proud of what we had done. We thought it was hilarious. And I think it was like a marginal success, but it's kind of been interesting. Like, it's a show that continued to find more and more success across the seasons, and it kind of got a bigger and bigger audience, especially once it hit Netflix in like the 4th or 5th season, and then the popularity kind of exploded. And strangely, it kind of has continued to find its audience and grown over time. So,
yeah. That's what the streaming does. Like, a new generation of people will stumble upon it. And
absolutely.
You have fans that never would have watched it when they were 9, right?
Yeah.
But now they're 20-something.
Well, some of them might have been watching it. I'm sure they should have been. Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us took it for granted that, the show's going to come back. Every season we were like, well, we hope he gets to come back. But thankfully we got 11 great years of doing it.
Amazing. Yeah. So, was Gotham? Did you know what you were auditioning for? Did you know who it was for? Like, because sometimes they don't tell y'all, and then they see what you'll do with it. Like, how was that experience?
Yeah, I got an offer for the role. I had worked with the showrunner of Gotham, a guy named Bruno, before on that show called The Mentalist. So I'd done just a guest star role on that. I guess he was familiar with that, and I had just done the 2nd season, I believe, of Shameless. So he was familiar with my work from that show. I got the offer for it as I was going in to audition for another role in a completely different project. And I had like maybe the worst audition of my life. Completely bombed that audition. Came out, was sitting on the curb, just like kind of like shell-shocked by that, and then read the sides and was like, holy shit, this is awesome. Immediately called my agent and was like, yes, 1,000 times yes. So they had just said that this character was kind of like hinted to be the Joker, but it was just supposed to be perhaps a single episode guest star. And so I was just like, well, I'll do it for everything it's worth, and really try to take a big swing with it. And thankfully, there was a really good response to it, and I ended up kind of keep coming back. But it was also sort of the case where I never knew when I was going in for that show if it was the last time. Up until the final season, I was like, well, I hope I get to come back and do more. But, so again, it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, well, I'm not going to take it for granted. I just hope that I get to do more.
It was phenomenal. I'm not saying that because I'm totally geeking out right now, because I watched that show. You made yours and not someone else's. Because even though the Joker's been played, and even though that's not what the character's name was, like, it was lovely. Yeah, congratulations. It was awesome. So, we need to talk about Star Wars. Is this something that you're like, oh my god, if I get a chance to do anything Star Wars, I will do it? Or was this sort of something that you were like, oh, yeah, I guess I'll do that?
Yeah, I mean, I always loved the movies growing up as a kid. I had the VHS box that was Darth Vader's head of the original trilogy, and I used to watch those all the time, and I would stare at that box with a lot of like deference and admiration. And when we were playing on the playground, I used to pretend to be Darth Vader.
Amazing.
I kind of had like a Darth Vader thing for sure. I remember going to the movie theaters to watch the Phantom Menace when I was a kid. I must have been like 6 years old or something with my grandfather. And I was kind of the perfect age for the prequel trilogy because I was kind of aging as they continually got more mature.
Yeah.
So I think like 12, 13 when Revenge of the Sith came out, if I remember correctly, which was like the perfect age again for that movie. So I got very lucky. Like Star Wars was always very much a part of my childhood, and I desperately wanted to be in a Star Wars project. Everybody and their grandmother had auditioned for The Force Awakens when that was casting. They did this like worldwide search and looked a lot in the US and the UK specifically. And I auditioned for that, like made this like little home movie kind of like tape for it. Nothing ever happened. And then when Phil Lord and Chris Miller were auditioning for the Han Solo project, I ended up going back in a few times for that. I was like, oh, cool, maybe this will be my opportunity. I was like, I don't really look like Harrison Ford, but I don't know. Maybe.
I think everyone that auditioned for that role said the same.
Yeah, fair enough. That didn't end up working out, so I was just sort of like, well, I guess maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just never going to get to be a part of it. And then when I got the audition for the game, that was a big opportunity and honor, and now to continue to find this character in different mediums, be it in books or comics or Lego figures or what have you. It's been pretty.
Is that surreal when like someone's either wearing a shirt with your face on it or there's like a little Lego? Like, have you collected your own Legos?
It's really cool when I meet like little kids or small kids, and they say that like Cal is their favorite Jedi, because for them that might be the first time that they're getting introduced to Jedis or Star Wars or any of these things.
Yeah.
All of us are so familiar with what these concepts and ideas are, but for them it could be the very first time. And that's not lost on me, that's an introduction for them. And that feels very special to be able to bring kids some sort of joy or admiration or something, whatever, to their childhood.
Absolutely, yeah. Because now you have your own lightsaber as well, right? The whole, like, that's just cool. Now kids can go buy